as the NEC members file out of that meeting, as we look ahead to Paul Mashatile briefing in the next few moments, speaking, I presume, as Acting Secretary-General of the ANC. Let's have a quick look at the political economy of our nation, given the developments of the last few days. Theo Venter is a political analyst. He joins us now. Theo, good evening to you. This is a very fluid political situation. What impact is it going to be having on the economy, particularly because no one knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not only fluid, it's the first time in our short constitutional history since 1994 that the president was actually, or is actually, threatened with impeachment. We know it's possible, and we know it is the outcome of what went wrong during Kandla, but this is the first time that we're actually testing the constitution, and that brought about a lot of uncertainty, and we have seen how the markets responded to this Wednesday, Thursday, and by Friday kind of came back. In other words, that uncertainty, of course, is not good for the South African economy that is really not doing what it should.
The Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, I mean, he suggested that he's been inundated with messages from investors, from bankers. I mean, that's just one indication of concern, isn't it?
Well, there was big concern. Globally, a lot of the, let's call it the credibility of the country. Our sovereign risk is determined, of course, by other things, but the general credibility has to do with the current president. He has a cunning understanding of the economy and how these things work and so on. So he is a great part of people actually willing to invest in South Africa and, of course, to finance our just energy transition, which, of course, runs into billions of dollars.
As we talk to you, Professor, we're seeing pictures of Deputy President David Mabuza. He's just left that NEC meeting. No comment from what I could see. He's remained, as far as I know, literally silent in terms of public comments, and yet he's the person who maybe stands with the most to gain in this situation. When we look at what is happening around the economy and President Ramaphosa, the ANC could say it doesn't matter who is the president, the policies belong to the ANC. And yet I don't think we've seen the ANC saying that. Does that suggest that, and the concern from markets, does that suggest that economic policy has become personalized in South Africa?
Well, not only personalized, I think economic pressure and pressure by individual financiers and big institutions was part of the change of heart, because it's clear now from the media that there was a point last week where Ramaphosa definitely considered resigning as the best way out of this crisis. And if you look at the investments in the country and who is doing it, I think a lot of the pressure for him to stay came from there. And that, of course, is in part, and things will still unfold, but I don't think he will stay a long time. When I say a long time, it means another 5 years, or maybe only stay until the next election, because I think when the 2024 election is over, the 7th administration starts, and the first business for Parliament is to elect a president, and that president must be coming from the party with the most votes. Obviously, I think it will be the ANC, and I think a new chapter has now emerged where it might just be that Ramaphosa will at that point say, sorry, but I had enough.
It's interesting that you say that, because, I mean, this leads to the question which everyone's been talking about over the last few days. If not Ramaphosa, then who?
Yeah, and the ANC has had a problem with this for a very long time, where they, especially if you look at the haphazard way in which we moved from Mbeki to Zuma, how we moved from Zuma to Ramaphosa, it is as if that 18 months between terms, or between the term of the president of the ANC and state president is just too long. That's the one problem. And the other one is the factions are causing huge differences about who has to be the next leadership. And we know political parties, their business is creating leaders. Their business is to almost inculcate or develop new leadership. And I think the factionalism in the ANC has brought that process basically to a halt.
I mean, the factionalism is also about economic policy too, isn't it? I mean, people talk about economic policy sometimes in factional terms. Some people in the ANC want to nationalize the Reserve Bank, some don't. That's just one example. And you often see that factionalism expressed both in the race for leadership, as you suggested, but also in economic policy terms. That's where the division is.
Well, it's in part where the division is, and a lot of these, I would almost call them ideological positions vis-à-vis the economy, is more statements of intention rather than anything else. What the ANC is missing, or what they're missing to do, is to actually provide us with the concreteness of their very pragmatic moves in economic terms. There's almost a divide between ANC ideology on the economy, or different versions of it, and what they are doing on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's why some of the business people had such an important say. Remember, it was also the business people that brought about the sanity in the NEC case, where Des van Rooyen was a Minister of Finance, our most educated and smartest minister, Zuma said at that point. It was business that brought about clarity to political moves.
Theo Venter, Professor, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it, political analyst there.